to be the solutions for overcoming those challenges. I would also like to hear what you consider your Achilles' or your weaknesses, so that members can also contribute towards that. Would also like to hear on how to leverage some of the strengths and opportunities that are lurking at us, and to know or understand from you who could be our partners, and then we will get into what the process for the next application really is. And so the floor is open for whoever wishes to take the floor first. And please be brief, and if somebody else has mentioned something you also had concerns for, except for emphasis, please take on another point so that we can gather as many points as possible. All opinions are welcome, and the floor is open for discussion. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. One issue that keeps bothering me is about how applications will be judged in future. The current funding we have was, what I understand, was coming from the international division. By we, I mean the bureaus. But that in the next funding cycle, it looks like this funding will be coming from the science division of Wellcome Trust. And Alphonse can make corrections if I misspoke. Because it is going to come from the science portfolio, I think they will put a lot of emphasis on the science that a particular consortium has put out. And that therefore relates to the publications. So one of the things, it will not be just processes, what processes, whatever has gone through, whether it has got policy guidelines and so forth, but rather the science that has been. And so one piece of puzzle to me is how we present our science. There are publications which clearly acknowledge this funding scheme, and yet through our different partnerships, people have contributed to publications by which do not acknowledge that the funding, or the fact that they are private fellows or supervisors. How we handle that has been a challenge for me. Challenge, how we present our science. Should we not include those publications which do not acknowledge? Right? We don't want to be seen as misrepresenting Thrive. At the same time, we don't want to be underjudged when we've done so.
Okay. Yes, please.
I just want to put a few thoughts from my perspective in Cambridge, and in some ways it reflects a bit what Nelson just said. I think we should think clearly that though the next round might be more about science and less about training per se, we should look at the two northern partners, and we should look at the 5 or whatever African partners, and say it's going to be about African science. It's African led, and then what the northern partners can provide is support and facilities and help to maximize the output of the African scientists. And therefore, looking into new applications, the contributions from the northern partners, I think, should emphasize what facilities and what expertise they can put forward, and the track record in doing this, both from the London School and Cambridge, in supporting African scientists. And exactly as Nelson says, this will be projecting into the future. So it's not just what's been produced so far, there's the potential for the future, including relationships the London School has and Cambridge has with not necessarily just Thrive members in the past. In other words, Cambridge has facilities, apart from their physical and their expertise facilities, they also have funds which have been made available. So in the last few years we've made 52, I've just counted up, 52 joint awards with Tanzanian, Ugandan and Kenyan co-applicants with Cambridge applicants on a whole range of subjects, half of those health related. Those funds go on at a rate of 400,000 a year for the next 9 years. It's a facility that, and quite a lot of those have gone to Thrive members, which is there and Cambridge can supply to Thrive. We've also been building up relationships, not necessarily through Thrive, which would complement Thrive, I feel, particularly when we're talking about some subject areas. So we've been working quite hard to facilitate links between the Lung Institute in Kampala and Papworth Hospital, Cambridge University Hospitals and UK National Heart and Lung Institute. And we've been helping them put together regional proposals. And I think this is an important thing about Thrive. It's a regional organisation and network, which many of the others aren't. And so, in terms of lung research, the proposals have gone in with regional partners in Kenya and Kenya and in Tanzania. And we've also been working to build relationships between the Cancer Institute in Kampala, which is an East African Centre of Excellence, of course, with Cancer Research UK, the Cambridge Institute, the Cambridge Cancer Network and the Sanger Institute. Again, this could be a thing for the future. Many of these things are still in the early stages, but if they happen to fit in with what different Thrive partners can contribute, and I think it's important that these should not be just between individual partners, they should be something that benefits 3 or 4 partners within Thrive. These could be developed. Now, I'm not suggesting these particular examples are the ones to be developed, but they're the sort of things that you can think forward for the next application. And the other thing I thought was, it's something I talked about in terms of the preparing for Thrive 2, is that we should look at the regional structure we have and see if there's any gaps in it that we think we should plug. And I thought last time we really could do with a Kenyan university being involved, because it makes it imbalanced. And if we could have a really nice balanced network, which has got subject areas which both conform to progress and fit within the structure that maybe the Wellcome Trust would like. I think we can do this, but we should have these discussions and we'll see what the partners contribute and what the northern partners contribute also, I think.
Well, thank you. Could I just add something to what David said? So David flagged up lung disease as a strength. In terms of London School, eye disease is an enormous strength, and we have Matthew Burton, who's a Wellcome Senior Fellow at London School, who was based at KCMC for a number of years and still has very strong links there. He has excellent links also in Uganda and a number of joint programs funded by Wellcome looking at eye disease in Uganda and Tanzania. And he hosted a couple of months ago a meeting of the Commonwealth Eye Health Consortium, which had about 170 eye health people from 32 Commonwealth countries in London, and it was fantastic. One of the best speeches. We had a reception at one of the Royal St James's Palace, and the best speech was given by a Ugandan former PhD student of his. So I think we should consider flagging that up as a potential strength.
Okay. Yes, please.
Thank you. I think we have a lot of strength, and we have done quite a lot of things over the past several years through one. But I feel many times when we meet in these meetings, we go around, each one talks about this fellow came, this is what is going on in our different institutions. But I think one of the key factors which we have not been very successful is really to pull it together and to show more comprehensively what, as a consortium, we have done and our impact. I think that will be key. We have a lot of examples of people who really have become leaders, and now their teams and they're moving. And we have not really been very good in terms of bringing that together to say these are the key achievements. We do not be talking about our institutions. We have done this course, we have hosted something and so on, but more, this is what, our target was to reach here, to create leaders. This is what we have achieved as a consortium, and to be able to show that. Take an example of the course in Mwanza, the research methods course is almost 10 years now we have been doing this. A lot of people, if we just say we have been doing the research methods course, we have been implementing this every year, that is not enough in my view, and we are missing actually the impact of the course. If we can go beyond that and say, these are the people who have come here. This has been the results when they attended this course. These are the kind of things they've done. They published papers. They now, a grant, they are part of a team. That will show our strengths, and I would really like to see if we can start working towards a way in which we can collect all our contributions and our impact in preparation for the application.
Okay. Yes, Daniel.
Just like to add to Saidi's contribution, one of the things we tried to do maybe 2 years ago with Ulrike and colleagues in Rwanda was to apply for WHO to TBR for a grant on malaria elimination, especially in the Lake Victoria region. And that was unsuccessful. I think if it was successful, it would have demonstrated our capacity as a network to work together and address a significant problem. And the fact that it was unsuccessful perhaps reflects on one of the weaknesses that the MESAU-MEPI has highlighted. But we can show progress towards research leadership. But to a large extent, those are an individual projects. So are the emerging research leaders networking with others in similar fields in the region as a result of having been a consortium? And I don't see a lot of that. So perhaps that's an area that we need to emphasize.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I have to do with what others say. We believe that the Thrive 1 and Thrive 2 has some objectives. We need to demonstrate our strengths, how best to handle for the Thrive 1 and Thrive 2. Our experiences and for completing the Thrive 1 and Thrive 2 is one of our strengths. But as I believe Nelson might highlight later, coming together at the Thrive 1, Thrive 2 was a starting point. Working together, we might have gone through some struggle. But based on our experience, we might have read a lot, how best such kind of weakness we might enrich it. Staying together for the 10 years is a success. this will be a case why we are moving to the next round, based on our experience, success stories, and we might have highlighted some gaps which we need to accomplish. Because some of the question, yes, 10 years of experience, how much have you covered? How much have you left as you expect to have? Do you need more staff to add on from what have been expected to cover? Maybe our experience, we might have read some insights, which we need to venture meet. That's why, as we have heard from the director from the African Academy of Science, now we are moving to NCD and the mental health. We might have done some, but our experience and our competencies, we need to venture on apart from what we are looking at.
Good morning. Pardon me, maybe I came late to the project, and the first question I would ask is, in terms of partnership that belongs to Thrive, are we all here? That's the first question. But if we are all here, perhaps I'm not seeing the depth and diversity in partnerships. Funding models around the world, including Welcomes, tend to focus now on sustainability, which really speaks again to partnerships. I'm not seeing, at least maybe the private sector, business community, who somehow will be ready to uptake whatever that's being discovered within the project, or whatever that's being innovated into some form of business and going forward. Such partnerships will even, in future, beyond grants and funding, be the ones that tend to sustain projects. And also, somehow, the little component that I'm not able to pick is the ownership by community, or community representation. Something that, to me, can come across as a strength in the project, where you could, along the project, start publishing publications in partnership with community leadership. And to me, it speaks really to ownership. Thank you very much.
Okay. Does any other person have some views? Floor is still open. One question which I'd like to put out and to understand is for those who've engaged in community and public partnerships, what has been your sustainability plan? How would these communities or public continue after Thrive? I'd like to understand a little bit of that. The other thing I'd like, which I like very much from the last speakers, is that Thrive 1 was coming together. Thrive 2 was working together. And if we're looking to Thrive 3, it should be staying together. Now the questions that would come up with, have there been any trainees that have come together to jointly solicit new funding as members of Thrive? And would we be considering getting some of the success stories to be part of the new Thrive when we I'm asking? So basically, this is my these are my quick observations from what I'm probably gathering. And I would ask another question once I hear on some of these. But it's important for us to look at clearly what the trainees have become and what impact they've actually had on the field, rather than just cite that they have moved up in senior positions of leadership. I think these are important for demonstrating exactly what Thrive has achieved. Are there any other issues? We've heard a little bit about some of the weaknesses. We've heard on how we can leverage. I'd like to know precisely if we're getting new partners on board and who these partners could be. We've heard that the private sector is almost absent. How do we get them on board, and how do we move on with what we have to offer so that the private sector can also feel comfortable interacting with us? Professor Akamba, sorry, I know.
Not to directly respond to those questions, but to say that I threw the first stone, and it was about publications. I think we haven't addressed that issue. How do we present ourselves in publications to show that, at least on science, we've been very successful, and therefore it looks like even into the future we shall. The second point is about, new areas of focus, whether it's eye health problems or whatever it is. And if we go back into the history of Thrive, when we started Thrive, we did not focus on anything. What we are looking for is ability to do good science. And so you could focus on anything as far as it was related to health. In Thrive 2, we then narrowed down to 3 thematic areas, which included non-communicable diseases. So the question that has often, again, been a challenge is, should we focus more, or should we leave it a little broadish? What are the strengths we have within the network, and which direction should we take? Focus vis-a-vis being a bit broad, but publications bother me first and foremost regarding how we should present ourselves.
Well, I'll respond. Trying to see what in other consortia are done. For example, there are those research areas of direct funding which Thrive or the different consortia cite directly AISA and Delta's program. But as a fellow and their involvement with other projects, they have often stated that this publication was done while this such a person was a fellow of the program, and therefore, in a way, it's acknowledging also that as a fellow, you can be involved directly with direct sponsorship, but also your peripheral involvements with other projects. I think in that way, you should give enough visibility to the consortium. So the question is, should Thrive be focusing on narrowing the scope, or should it leave it broad, or should it leave it the way it is?
I remember the first Thrive discussion, and we didn't decide not to focus on anything. We decided to focus on everything. I think we put it. We focused on everything where there was potential for development and we thought we had expertise to justify it. I think that was absolutely the right thing to do. And it is still an ongoing problem. I personally we are not a disease-specific network. I don't think we want to be. There's plenty of those around. We want to be responsive and developing research excellence where we see the potential to do that. But it does mean that when we project forward, we have to have the background facilities and presumably track record to justify the areas we choose. So this is why, we need to state our resources, and that means what Northern Province can help with. It's not the most crucial thing. The most crucial thing is where you have the expertise and the driving forces here within the network to say this is the area, this is the area, or these are the areas which we can make into a proposal that will really gain traction with the funders. So I don't think we can decide on the areas first. We've got to decide on the areas after we've really evaluated the achievements and the potential and the new ideas, and then see which of those make a sustainable and a viable story to put forward. But we seem to be acting as a pair here.
Of course, I always agree with everything he says. No, I think we must focus on our strengths.
Yes.
That's because this is the science program. They want the best science. They don't want second-rate science. So if we have an excellent track record in a particular area, and when I say we, I mean, I don't think it has to be through Thrive. I think we can look at other collaborations within the South African region where we have an excellent track record and focus, include them in the proposal, would be my feeling. So I think we focus on our strengths.
I'm probably the third person in the debate that you tried. I agree entirely with it, but I think we must demonstrate that our strategy worked. So we decided not to focus on our particular disease, did our strategy. Can we definitely show that there's growth in the areas where we work, although we did not focus on specific diseases? I think we can do that.
Can we hear from Bulu?
The emphasis on publications. I would like to probably assure the director that we got the fellows recruited, and the conditions are that they are going to publish a number of papers before the end of their PhD programs, and for the postdocs as well. So we may be asking too early or getting worried too early for that. But the fellows are also here. And I believe that hurdle will really be worked on before the end. So as for the publications, I'm sure we are going to get a lot of information. And as regards the focus, as Dan said, we really need to bring out what have we done in those areas where we have done research, the contributions, the impact the research has had. And I believe it will probably just indicate that it's broad, and we have been able to really touch, apart from the infectious diseases, the non-communicable diseases, and the neglected tropical diseases, and the neonatal, and all those things have been touched from the subjects, the presentations that will be made tomorrow and the day after. We bring out some of those. How far and how complete they are at this stage is something we shouldn't judge yet, but there's a lot of progress.
PCMs?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nelson, for raising this issue of publications. I've just gone to the Thrive website. Congratulations, 200 publications. This is very good. I mean, 400 publications, but it could be better. I think there are many people who have not yet published their work. And there's a lot of papers being prepared under Thrive. But the same fellows are also preparing papers away from Thrive. So I think we should request them, these fellows, to write on your paper, Thrive Fellow. Because you're a Thrive Fellow. So whether you are publishing from another project, you should still write and identify yourself as the Thrive Fellow, so that the Thrive family can also claim part of your time and your success. Thank you.
Yes, I see a hand in the far back.
I'd also like to think about an aspect of public engagement. If we can get from our fellows that their work has impacted somehow in local and national policies within countries or within the region, that also will add to our strength.
Any other? Just one minute after box. No, it's.
I think much has been said, especially as you have heard from Professor Kubine, in massive publications. I think my concern which you need to put forward is how this publication has translated into practice in the points, how this has influenced. As you have heard from our colleagues from Good, the impacts, the contributions, to whom this publication might have impacted, have influenced. It's very important. As you have heard, some of our graduates from Thrive 1, Thrive 2, they have managed to take some grants. It couldn't happen if we have not developed this kind of research capacity. So we need to demonstrate this kind of competencies.
Well, I'm glad that you addressed the issues of publications towards policy and you're addressing it to the right person, because that's how you and I first met. So I think he's in the right hands. Yes.
Yeah, so one question I might ask, which is useful to as we think about publication, is African Academy of Sciences may I request African Academy of Sciences to give us some estimate of when the call might come out and when applications will be expected. The reason I'm asking this is you might want to share some of their concerns or where they have not been very satisfied with the way Thrive is doing its work, whether it is mentoring, whatever it is, so that as we look into the future, we find solutions for those weaknesses. They are the direct beneficiaries so far. And I think we should push them too, so that we hear their voices.
I agree.
Otherwise, we walk away saying the fellows are not up to the mark.
I agree very well, and I would pick on Moses first.
In general terms, I think mentoring can go either way, either very good or average or poor. And I remember there was a workshop that was organized in Nairobi, and I happened to attend, and benefited a lot from what other people were saying. I wonder whether the findings of such a workshop could be in some ways incorporated and shared in such sessions, because I think it cuts both ways. The responsibility doesn't fall entirely on the mentor, but many times it may also be the mentor. That's what I can say at the moment.
Jovin, you have anything to say?
So much, and just to complement on the modality of the monitoring. I understand that when you're in a PhD trajectory, there's so much to do around science, you are carried away with a lot of things. I think the monitoring processes of Thrive being so stringent, comment for that. Basically, whenever going, there's always a reminder somewhere, which I think that's a big factor.
Thank you, I'm calling with Carol. I think the mentorship design of the Thrive is excellent. I've had very good support over the 2 years. Even senior members who are not directly involved, like Professor David may be here, has been involved in my growth. So I think we could just improve on the cross-cutting process. Thrive has arranged for cross-cutting process before, and was very beneficial to not just the Thrive fellows, but other fellows in the partner institution. And I just want to take you back to the issue of publication. I've had discussions with the Sound has asked me several times, about how we acknowledge the Thrive. So there are 2 or 3 types of publications that we're involved in. There are those that will come from our main Thrive work, and that's straightforward. I think the issue is acknowledging Thrive in studies that are not directly related to what we're doing now. I find it easy to acknowledge Thrive when I've made a major contribution to the work that's coming up. And it's very easy for me to then say, my funding conflict of interest or whatever I need to declare. But when I've made a fringe contribution to publication, to then start coming and declaring your funding interest. I've done it 1 or 2 times, but I think it's difficult. I don't know who have gone through this how to handle. Thank you.
Just the one. No, you'll think of something in a minute. No, just to say, the answer to that is if you are receiving support in terms of salary or stipend from Thrive, then you should write down, such and such was supported by grant from Thrive. It's not a big deal. It's it doesn't matter how. If you made enough contribution to go in the paper, you've made enough contribution to mention it's supported by Thrive, and that's the way everybody should think about it.
Any more issues? And any other suggestions? Okay.
I just wondered what the next step in this process is going to be. If we all say, now it's time for coffee, how are we going to continue this discussion and come to some decisions in the future about this process of building a proposal for Thrive 3?
Well, I guess we're keeping that for the latter part of the discussions once we've had all the suggestions on board, and we will take on that before we round up this section at 12:30. We still need to hear some more from fellows who benefited, what have been their challenges, how can we improve on those, and where do you see things going next? Well, this is the time to say it or forever. Okay, so since I'm not hearing quickly from people, I just wanted to flag something which Thrive should think about, which is, you know, the more and more data is being generated, the more and more you need to think about this, and it's actually getting us into the era of healthcare analytics, and it's one area which I'm trying to encourage you, to whoever wishes to listen, and it's an area which may help consolidate some of the information that you've gathered so far into a common database which can be sourced and analyzed for various purposes, or to start one which would help Thrive into Thrive 3 and hopefully Thrive 4. Any suggestions further? Otherwise, I will give the microphone to Professor Wakambo to guide us through what should be the process for preparing the next application.
Well, Chair, I didn't come with a plan for how we should do this, but rather was depending on what people suggested this week. How would they want to proceed from now onwards to continue the discussion, as David said. We did have a discussion, I think it's about a month ago, with the different institutions. I think we should continue having those discussions. Maybe every month or 2 months from now until September, and then thereafter we can do those discussions much more frequently. And I think if we do a lot of discussion before the call is out, of course quality discussions, before the call is out, to put us in a much stronger position to have a winning proposal. So I want to encourage ourselves to be ready for the discussions. But here is one of my observations. At the last discussion, we agreed after, as partner institutions, that we shall identify the strength. And each institution was going to send to the Secretariat the strength. Some did, others did not. or others sent in, but they sent in a contribution, but frankly speaking, it didn't look like that was a well thought out response. So, how do we proceed with people giving really quality contributions? And I think one of those we should put more thought on between now and our next discussion as a group is, I go back to society's contribution. As a network, what have we benefited as a network as opposed to individual institutions? That honest, that's the discussion of the process of moving forward.
I don't seem to see any show of hands anymore. Please, as we break off, it's important for us to come back with other ideas. If you have some, I see now someone is inspired. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So maybe in addition to Nelson, so as maybe the partners come up with their strength, maybe part of that same assignment would also be so start thinking about the topics, because now we've seen to broach on the broad direction that we want to go. So maybe it's also time, because when you have the strength lined up and you can see them, of course you can come up with topics that are favorable to you, but the Secretariat can assemble all of them. I think we can have things to discuss about, and then maybe trim down to what would be convenient to pursue the network. Of course, just start from the beginning. So we build capacity, we train people. Now we have infrastructure in place. We have people who are trained, who are, let's say, specialized in certain areas. So that's where the topics will start from. But then you also need to scan the horizon and see what's going on. Maybe you want to front those areas that are important here, but maybe not so well resourced enough already, so that Frigs contributes to. So maybe the important areas, even if they're funded, but maybe they need more funding. So that's what we throw at them. But either way, we see that it's going to have to be now research projects, solving actual questions, and that's seeing how we can gather and show up all the support that we have to answer those questions. Because that seems like the Frig 3. So I would recommend that maybe we also think about topics, so that when we come to discuss next, there are some topics on the table.
Yeah, I can only also add my voice and strengthen what's just been said, to say that partners really need to be part of this discussion. And so when documents are required from you, you need to put them in time, because it's quite an amount of job also for the Secretariat to assemble and see the new directions and see the new tendencies. So partners should do everything possible to also send in these required documents and analysis once they're required to do so. All right, well, I see no other show of hands, and at this point I'd like to ask all of us to applaud ourselves for this discussion as we now take leave to have some lunch, and then we'll return. We still have some minutes, so if people feel that they can talk in little groups, that's also welcome, and you can come back to indicate to myself and the rapporteur some new ideas that we may flag as we enter the next session. On this call, please have a good lunch and come back on time. Are there any other housekeeping announcements? I would like those to be made at this time.
Yeah.